What would you envision the perfect Supermines map to be? For me, I think it's just as simple as putting it on the longest map ever, with a couple of small decorations to make it a little bit less boring. Keeping it very simple today, so as a refresher for map editor stats, you can only place 48 nodes, meaning balloons will travel 23.5 times around this circle before exiting, and new to this update is you can extend the lifespan of these perfect maps for towers simply by changing the balloon speed. So it starts as low as 0.5 and goes as fast as looks like 5 times speed. Obviously, for the purposes of this challenge, we want to do it at the slowest. That means this update makes it so that we basically have 96 nodes to work with instead of 48, which is kind of ridiculous. Therefore, with such a strong tower, expect this to take a while. If you want to take a glimpse of just how slow a half-speed bat is, well, yeah, it's basically as if we had a permanent Grand Sabo on it. And here's around 250 bad on fast forward with half speed. Doesn't even look like it's around 250. Now, let me explain why this placement is the best one, I believe, for the Supermines. So, if you didn't know, Supermines creates explosions. Wow, who would have thunk it? And when you put the tower on somewhere that's more bendy, then those explosions have more of a chance to clip other balloons, rather than if it was, say, on a straight line. Hope that makes enough sense. And now to begin our long journey in testing out the Supermines max round in Chimps mode. We have started here with the 000 sub so that we can turn this into an Energizer. Every perfect map needs a little bit of water. Discount villages, and you're probably wondering what this hedge, square-shaped hedge is for, and that's for my hero, which I didn't forget this time. It is Striker Jones. I know there's pretty much a 0% chance it matters, but this place will allow us to place down the hero without it attacking at all. So I figured, why not be a little bit extra if I'm allowed to? Some of you might also be thinking right now, isn't there some merit maybe to making the longest map a little bit, like, thinner? Because the difference between the longest map ever like this versus a map that is close to strictly diagonal can't be too much, right? Well, I don't think so. The reason why you might want the gap thinner is so that the Supermines can be placed in the middle, and therefore when it explodes, it's able to touch the other side track. But I think as big as the explosion looks, I think you'd have to thin out the map way too much that the track length wouldn't be worth it. And this is already, I mean, fairly decent of a bend, I will say. Let's first get spike mines, and then we'll get temples so that we can make our Supermines, like, hell of a lot cheaper. I think we saved like $25,000 with a 20% temple discount. Definitely worth it to get, but for now, enjoy the 420 with soloing, likely, 100+ rounds. Oh, by the way, I forgot to bring this up earlier, but here are all of the other towers I've tested, and what rounds they got to, with the map editor stats at the time. Once again, this one being the best possible case scenario for the Supermines. I think it would have already performed the best without this 0.5 speed modifier, but I'm holding out hope for like round 300+ at this rate. So unlike Permaspike, we don't need no fancy map path placements for this one, because it doesn't last as long as the Permaspike's 300-second mines, or rather spikes. If you went for 502, then of course you'd have longer lifespan, but personally, I don't think it's worth it. We'd rather go for pure DPS, because even though we do have 0.5 speed, at a certain point, bads will become fast enough that the spikes won't time out before, you know, a bad makes one loop. That would be the only time I consider the 502, but yeah, it's not enough uptime to make a big deal. Also, I think I should have placed my spike a little bit lower. Right now, there's some pineapple spawning to the top right of it, but frankly, I think, again, the bottom right corner is best, although I think it's pretty negligible, so I won't bother to spend a Chinook. Let's get our Ultra Boost, and then we'll get Temple, and then we'll get Supermines, which will probably take until at least around 140 at this rate. And enough foresight to think about blocking Striker's attacks, but not enough foresight to remember that it gives Pierce to every terrain range, so that means my Temple is going to have more range, but I guess that's fine, right? Because 25% Pierce really doesn't matter as much on, like, this tower compared to a Spike, which is always going to benefit from the 25% Pierce. That's why Striker is now the best hero with Spike factories. But take a look at that. We are now going to save $27,000 from 135k to 108. And as you can see, we are desperate to get Supermines soon because it's going to take a while for a Spike Mines to be able to deal with these rounds here. I think just a couple of ZMGs on 118 has taken 4 loops to get through. And how much damage does it do to bads, just out of curiosity? So we start at 77,000 up to 2.8, so about 23,000 damage per pass-through. No, 23,000 is probably the most it could have done in a pass-through, because remember, it would, with the speed the bads are currently at, there are pineballs that are definitely timing out, as you see, when the bads have only made like half a loop through. I didn't count the exact amount of loops, but that was close to halfway, I think. Now we had some cheap stuff to get us over the hump of affording the super mines. I think this is an okay spot for an health buff, because while the AMD might throw in Striker, it can't affect, well, his attacks because he can't shoot, so it's not a big deal. Even if only half of the AMD shots land on the spike. After all, the mixture dip is 1 damage compared to the amount of damage super mines does, which is a lot. I suppose we could use this time to dive into the stats of the super mines. Before that, let me just take a quick look. How much damage can the spike mines ramp up now with Alk buff? Because it is, well, it has a pretty good synergy with Alk, considering how well, again, it benefits from Pierce. I think it's like, I swear it's double the damage. I know it's not against bats this time, but it seems to be packing a bigger punch. That's all I can really say. Because this is with no spikes active, yet it's reaching about 2,000 DPS. Before, I only saw 3 digits. Let's talk stats after against super mines, actually. Just out of curiosity, against the FBAT here, we did 40,000 on the first pass through. That's actually not bad. The great thing about this round, too, is that the bats are spaced enough that there's enough time for the spikes to replenish. So there's almost no time where spikes are wasted, except maybe about here. But this shouldn't take long at all, it seems. This is the 5th loop here. 6th, 7th, 8th, yeah, 8 loops out of 23.5, so only about a third of the track used up. Although, deities are pretty scary. They will definitely use them more than normal. And at long last, on round 168, there is Super Mines. Right in the nick of time, because I think the previous rounds were cutting it pretty tight. So I think we actually would have died if not for the 0.5 speed. But here we are now. We're just getting started here, but it's already doing, I see, like, spikes of 6-figure DPS marks at a time, which makes sense. Spike is more of a burst thing if there's spikes to accumulate. So take it with a grain of salt, of course. Just looking at the explosions there, I think they have enough to clip the bento. I'm not too worried about, again, missing explosions. But yes, as I said, let's talk about the stats, because that's actually very important on the perma spike, or rather the super mines, because if you look closely, there are multiple explosions. The first explosion is when any balloon touches the spike, but the spike doesn't die. I'm gonna throw all the stats on the screen right now, but for your FYI, every time it pierces, it creates an explosion that does damage, 30 to be exact, with 30 pierce and a very tiny blast radius, but of course, when the spikes use up all the pierce, then that's where you see those mass explosions that the Super Mines is pretty much known for. So there are 3 different, quote-unquote, ways the Super Mines can damage a balloon. Obviously, the big explosion being the most powerful, with it doing 1,000. Also, the explosion damage is doubled if the spike pile runs out, although that shouldn't be a strategy we try to rely on, because you would still do more damage if the spike used up its pierce, rather than waiting for the double damage explosion, if that makes any sense. I also maybe should have had more foresight to block my overclock positioning, because now the nail's going to do damage too, but once again, it probably doesn't make too much of a difference. With an overclock Super Mines, though, we can absolutely melt round 175 bads, which shouldn't be a surprise, but we are just getting started here with the attack speed buffs. Good god, Super Mines is disgusting. Now, imagine how much more disgusting against, once again, if we add village buffs, which double the pierce and damage, so doubly benefiting these Super Mines with a whopping 4x power when Homeland is active, so that's why we're gonna absolutely rush that next. Will this BAD back here even survive 1 bend? Yes, but it definitely won't survive 2. Also, you see at this current speed, mines are still timing out before the BAD gets back, but it's actually pretty tight. As in, just a bit more speed on the pads, and it's gonna be able to use up, like, all the time. So watch here. Waiting for explosions, timeout, right now times out. We can also use that data to figure out that right now it takes a little bit over 50 seconds for BADs to make 1 loop around this track. Quick math, 50 times 23.5, 1,175 seconds, about 20 minutes. Just to give you some insight on how long it takes for a bad to reach the exit without fast-forwarding this map. They say the hardest things to do in this game are things like Bloody Puddles chimps, but the true test would be to play a game on the longest map ever without fast-forwarding. I bet very few will have the willpower to pull that off. There's a Homeland now, so I expect bats to die within 1 frame now, frankly. You and I are both curious to see how much damage, or how long it'll take to beat around 200 here, so let's take a look. Starting at 163.1 million, and after exiting, holy moly, 700,000, 800,000 damage, I'd say. Oh damn, round 200 doesn't even stand a chance. It is not even close to exiting right now. You know what terror is good when you have so much money that you have run out of things to spend it on. Also, holy moly, lag. Yes, that's kind of what happens when there are a lot of balloons that need to calculate being damaged. But you see now, there are pretty much no more spikes timing out. They are not lasting the full 50 seconds. Also, there's only one bat here. Yeah, it's still lagging so much. Sheesh. I guess that's to do again with it piling up. But come on, guys, it's round 240, and these balloons have made it, I'd say 15% of the way through the track. This is going to take a long time. That's why we're skipping many rounds at once. I think one thing I will give the Super Mines is Perm Brew. Right now, the Tier 4 out buff with Homeland and Overclock active doesn't quite have full uptime on the Tier 4. See, it's down for just the smallest bit. We also don't want Perm Brew buffing everything else, so what I got was, I want to do a Chinook immediately. Before the Perm Brew has a chance to land on anything else. I think it landed on none of these towers, thankfully. Actually, it landed on Striker, but again, it's not a big deal with Striker. So that's fine. 500 million pops on the Super Mines now. It just went up another 4 million from one pass-through alone. And how about on this pass-through here? Up to 506, 507, 508. Yeah, 5 million this pass-through. 7 million. I know I haven't got the damage additives like Curve Moab, Glue Storm, etc., but I'll do that now. This is also not intended, but I'm glad I added these blockers so that I can block the sniper's line of sight. There's no use of stunning blimps far out of the Super Mines range, but this sniper spot is good, or at least good enough so that it'll get the +5 on blimps, while stunning it within close enough range for the explosions to hit. +5 really isn't going to do much though, because remember, 50 damage each on each spike pile. 30 damage on explosions, but if you run the math, yeah, it's a pretty low percentage buff. With us hitting round 270, we've officially blown by the Ray of Doom's highest round of the perfect map. And once again, seemingly no end in sight. Although I have officially capped out in all the damage buffs. I can't add any more after this. We've got Glue Storm, Brittle, Moab. By the way, I think after the Glue Storm nerf, they nerfed the duration by 5 seconds. I think I need to add an extra Glue Strike just to cover the damn time. I guess the only thing I could do is get one more Called Arms, because if you look very carefully, there's like a 0.5 second cooldown between the Called Arms ending and the Homeland coming up. So sure, why the hell not, since I have the money. The only realistic buff I am missing right now is True Sun God. But once again, since I'm testing the chimps, you can't really save up $500,000 in chimps unless you somehow make it to like around 500. But trust me, as good as Super Mines is, I don't think it's going to get that far. So we are just going to leave it at that, and we are going to use Call to Arms right here to cover again that 0.5 second downtime, and then extra $5 tech bot. There is also a 0.5 second delay between Homeland ending and Called Arms starting again, but that's nothing. That's something I can't fix, because if you didn't know, if you use Called Arms while Homeland's active, it actually overrides. The weaker buff overrides the stronger buff, which doesn't make any sense, but that's how the game is coded, so I just have to time the ability as close as possible to it ending, which should be good enough to cover the downtime. Also, I do not like this Curve Moab stunning the BFBs like that. It turns out waiting 50 seconds for it to time out is not that great. At this point, I think you get the gist though, so we're gonna start skipping rounds, because we are nowhere near close to dying, but I will show you how far this round gets though. This here is 3 loops through, 4 loops through. Those F-pads are going to die this bend for sure. And will it survive 5 loops through? No, because Cripple can stun. But yeah, round 270, 18% of the track through. It's time to jump really, really far forward. I'm gonna say round 300 I would like to see. Something funny that happens when you spawn a further round out when balloons from previous round are spawning is that the balloons on the lower round still like keep its speed. So you see this pad that my cursor's hovered is actually catching up to the F-pads on round 270. So soon they're gonna merge together. And it'll be kind of hard to tell where it is right now, but that's 3.5 loops. I think this pad is the speedy one because it's been separating from the clump. 6 loops. 7. Now we're talking something, but still, it's gonna pop right now, so only a third of the way through on around 300. Which again, if you just do some simple calculations, considering the half speed, we would still have a good 1/3 of the track to go. Had this been, say, last update, Give it up for round 350, which I've seen so little of that I didn't realize how deadly it is. Look at that line of bads. What the hell? That's like 6 F bads and 4 normal bads, all linked together like a centipede. Absolutely disgusting. If there's ever a round that would kill us, it might be this one. This is loot number 8, and not a single bad has died yet, not even normal bad. Halfway mark now. Judging by the HP of the bads at the back, I think we're actually going to beat it in time. At this point, most of the damage being done to the bads at the back are probably by the tailing super mines and or just the raw burny / explosion damage. Doing it 1,000 damage at a time. Pretty slow. 19 loops. Some of the ZMGs might kill us, because I'm not sure how far ahead they are. 22? Uh-oh. If I did the counting, these bats are going to exit, like, right now. That's so close, though. Just one F-bat too many, I think. Yup. Damn. Now I'm gonna have to check exactly what round we died to. Because obviously it wouldn't be fair to say 350, because I think it would have died to a round earlier than that. So now let me go through the painful process of testing the last 10 rounds to see if any of these rounds we kill the super mines. Basically, for each round, I'm just looking for how many bads spawn. I think this is about the same as 350, so there's a chance this could kill us as well. This round's not going to kill us, right? Oh, no, it is. Wow. 345 it is, then. The other previous 5 rounds didn't have as many bads as this one. That does it for this ridiculously long test. Did it last as long as you thought? I would say so. Let me know what other tower you want to see tested on the perfect map down below. And of course, if you missed previous episodes, check out this one if you haven't. And I will see you all next time.